With Gamescom in full swing, we're putting our heads together to pick our most anticipated PS5 games for 2024 and beyond. What will make the cut? Find out on the PlayStation Access podcast. Hello everyone and welcome back to the PlayStation Access podcast, the official podcast of PlayStation UK, where this week I'm your host for the first time.
You look different.
At me.
What's going on?
Look at me in the
You've
host
shaved. You've shaved.
Yeah,
I'm loving the wig.
Oh, thank you very
Really
much. I've
suits
tried
you,
really
sir.
hard, really hard. But yes, I am your host, Rosie, and I am joined today by the wonderful Alex.
Hello.
And the glamorous Amy.
Thank you very much. I've never been called glamorous in my life.
That's better
First time
I
for
want to be called
everything.
glamorous.
Alex is the glamorous one out of our duo. 100%.
Yeah, okay, then the glamorous, just swap them around.
Yeah.
Glamorous Alex and wonderful Amy.
Like it.
That'll do me.
And recently we've had the Gamescom Opening Night live, so there's loads of new game announcements popping out. And with Concord being out at the moment, as well as Astrobot coming out on the 6th of September on PS5, which I'm very excited
Oh my
for.
God, not long.
Literally, I'm like, give it to me now. We've got so many, just a big old catch up of all these games that are coming up and what we're excited for. And also, I think I've spoken about things, quite a lot of what I'm excited for, but I promise I've spiced it up. I've spiced it up with games that I haven't really spoken about much yet. And also, it's exciting to hear what you two have to say.
Yeah. Well, after Gamescom, I mean, at the time of recording, Gamescom has just happened. So we are like, Yeah, I'm full of just, up to the brim with game goodness.
Yes.
So
I'll tell you what, but who would like to go first?
Fight you for it, Amy. I'll fight you.
Oh, go on then.
No, you go first.
No, your foot's. Do you want to fight?
No, I'll fine.
Alex,
I'll
you're
go
going
first. So, obviously, Gamescom, there are loads of really cool things, but we have tried to shortlist a few each. This is a very difficult exercise, but I thought I would begin straight off the top with the first Berserker Kazan.
Yes. When I saw this, I think me and Rosie immediately said, this is very much up your street.
Yeah.
It just looks like, well, for a start, the art style looks incredible. This like gothic, very like bloody. It almost reminded me a little bit of Bloodborne at times, but like even more like visceral and as I say, like quite bloody and almost gory in some of its presentation.
It looked really gothically gory. It kind of reminded me a lot of the Castlevania animated series on
100%,
Netflix.
yeah.
The character's like soaked in blood.
Yeah.
Like it's like he's been sort of in the shower, lathering it on. Like, there's no way that much blood would even get on you
What
from
shower
slaying
gel is
anything. Yeah.
But what the real thing that caught my eye was just looking at the combat. Now, immediately I was like, you look like you're in some arenas with big boss type fights where it looks like there's a clear sort of Souls-like inspiration here, maybe with a sprinkling of like a hack and slash thing going on. So straight away I was like, this looks awesome, and straight away I was onto Google. I was like, I've got to find out more about this game. Got to find out more. And the story actually is really, really cool. So Kazan is wrongfully banished from his kingdom by those that would like to betray him, and he finds himself banished and in these snowy mountains, and he actually narrowly escapes death, and resolves to go against and get vengeance on those that have wronged him. And as we saw from the presentation, it seems to me like this will be a bloody quest for vengeance. There will be some epic boss fights, I think, with some real like brutal encounters. There's going to be some brutal combat in there with some pretty nasty, gnarly attacks, I'd imagine. I just thought this looks like something that a little bit different for the Souls-like genre in terms of the presentation and taking that viciousness up another notch. I'm all over it. I think
it
it's
does look
great.
very vicious. Vicious is a good word for this game. Like, I think it just literally when you said that, I was like, that just summarises that whole trailer.
Yeah. And the voiceover is Ben Starr.
Yes.
Who is great at revenge, tales of vengeance. You know, if you played Final Fantasy 16, like his whole, he's so good at that growling, menacing. I'm excited to see what he's going to bring to the character.
It's going to be great. And the other thing that really caught my eye was I noticed there was some parrying in there, but also there's like dodging. It looks like the two different routes that these Souls-likes normally go into in terms of combat.
Yeah.
Looks like both are viable.
Yeah.
And I really like it when games give you those options
Yeah.
to sort of try different approaches. If it's not working with a boss, maybe we try a little bit of parrying when he does this. I just love that there's that room for experimentation and different play styles. My excitement is through the roof for that one.
Yeah.
100%.
I'm glad me and Rosie know you well, because we did definitely say, as soon as we saw that trailer, we thought, that's Alex.
Get me in that boss arena, man. I'm ready.
Get him in. Get him in.
What about Amy? What about you?
So I'm going to make you, Rosie, an offer you can't refuse.
Oh, what is this twist on the podcast?
So I am so psyched for Mafia: The Old Country.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot wait. So the previous Mafia game, Mafia 3, was set in the 60s.
Yes.
And then the two before that, so Mafia 1 and 2 kind of covered like the sort of 30s, 40s and 50s sort of era respectively. But I think this one is going all the way back to 1900 Sicily.
Wow.
So it's basically the setting of Godfather 2. Like if you're looking at like young Don Corleone, Robert De Niro, when he's kind of like, you know, finding his way in New York after he's sort of like escaped, you know, sort of like the family's rivalry and everything. And I am so excited. We're going back to the origins of the Mafia, the origins of this huge crime family. All we really see is a small teaser. We don't really know what else is yet to come.
Yeah, it was literally like a guy on a windowsill
There's
just chatting.
there's a guy staring out the window wistfully, and he's like, "Are you sure you want to be a part of this family?" And I was like, "Yes, I do, 100%. I can see,
cool.
I can see you have grapes, sir. I can see you have guns. I can see you have wine. I'm in. I'm absolutely there. Sign me up." Yeah, it looks amazing. I'm a huge fan of the Godfather films. I love I think that era is something we haven't seen before. The fact that they're taking it all the way back. If you're a fan of Godfather, especially Godfather 2, like this should get you really excited. Go watch the trailer. We only are getting more information. We don't have a release date yet, but we know we're getting more info in this December 2024. So hopefully by then, we'll know a little bit more about it. But yeah, it just looks. I'm excited for the prospect. I think the setting is going to be amazing. You've got me at the setting, really.
I think like all three of the previous Mafia games that I've played, they all sort of the plots sort of, even though they're different time settings to different characters, there is like a little bit of connection between them. Characters appearing in different games. So it'll be interesting to see how they might sprinkle some little things in like that. You know,
Mafia 2, you know, was the one that I loved the most. And Vito Scaletta he's my boy, man. He's such a cool character. And I'm wondering if, sort of true to the Godfather movies, will they almost, you know, tee up some of the stuff? Will we have characters, seeing them sort of like in their infancy, or kind of like, you know, characters that are related to them, and sort of branching that family back even further?
So cool.
That would be really rad.
It is about the family
It's
ties,
about the
isn't
family.
it? Yeah,
it's about
really
the family. You've got to be
interesting.
true to the family, you know. And that's it. So I think, you know, there'll be betrayals. There'll be people kissing each other on cheeks before they execute each other.
Good Lord.
You know, it'll be brilliant. I can't wait. I'm buzzing for Mafia. They know it was you, Rosie. I know it was you, Rosie.
Well, Amy, what was the whole "you're going to offer me a deal" thing like at the beginning of the
Rosie,
entry? The whole time
go and watch The Godfather, Rosie. Go and watch The Godfather.
Yeah, right. That just proves I've never seen The Godfather before. It's on my to-do list of iconic films I need to see. So maybe
it's just a deal. Half price on sandwiches today. That's all it is. That's all the deal is.
All it is. Leave the gun, take the cannoli.
Okay.
It will all make sense, Rosie.
Well, now, the thing is now, when I go to watch it, I'm just going to think of like the whole film, a very serious, dramatic film. And I'm going to be like, meal deals. Like, it's just going to be like, all of this for a meal deal.
It's so good. Yeah, it's amazing. Both movies are amazing. So, cool.
Well,
all right.
I'm going to start with a game that I have mentioned on the podcast before, but I haven't mentioned it in a while because we were in great anticipation for when the release date was going to be for this game. All we knew that it was coming to PlayStation. But now, very recently, we found out that what the release date is. And it is the Plucky Squire, which I have been so excited for ever since it was announced. It just looks right up my street. And for bonus news, it's coming to PS Plus Premium and Extra as well on its release.
On day one.
On day one, which is like phenomenal if you've got PS Plus subscriptions and stuff.
Yeah.
But it just looks so wonderful. It's ever since I saw Jolt on his little adventure, and it just starts already. I was hooked, seeing like just a little storybook with a bit of like classic 2D adventuring, going on a quest, and then I'll never forget the first trailer when suddenly he jumps out of the book.
Oh yeah.
Yes, yeah.
And then it all goes 3D, and then we've just seen nothing but constant jumping from 2D to 3D.
Yeah.
There's multiple different gameplay elements you can do with it as well. There's, you know, grabbing words and altering the story from words that you pick.
You're quite literally leaping off the page of a storybook.
Yeah.
That's the premise. It's so cool.
It's the premise, and like depending on, like, there's a moment where he jumps in a mug, and then when on that mug, that means that you do like a shooter sort of section because you're going around a mug. And there's so many different mini games we've seen with gameplay styles, like, you know, punching, boxing style ones, and shooters, as I just mentioned.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? It feels like it's going to be constantly so fresh. It feels like you're going to be doing something different, or different, even playing like different genres every 10 minutes. It's going to be so much fun.
Exactly that. I love games that get games, and I feel like it's so creative in the way that it sort of like utilizes all these different genre switches. Reminds me a little bit of It Takes Two.
Yes.
You remember when there's sort of like there's the punching, like the fighting game with the squirrel, and then there's sort of like lots of shooter sections, lots of stealth sections,
and chess,
obviously. But there's lots of different game nuances and mechanics that they play with in really creative ways. And I felt like the Plucky Squire is going to do that.
Oh, definitely.
And
I'm pumped for that as well.
It's out 2 days after my birthday, September 17th.
Oh my gosh, you're going to have like the best birthday going on a wonderful adventure. I think that's the thing with it as well. It just looks like such a wholesome, lovely quest. Like the characters already look lovely. I love the art style that they've used for the actual illustrations in the book and stuff as well. I just think it looks so charming, colourful and lovely. And also in the trailers they've had a lovely narrator voice, and
that always helps. Makes
it
a
always
big
helps.
difference.
And I don't know whether, obviously we don't know anything about the game, but I don't know whether they're going to be in the full game or things like that. But I hope they are, because I want them to narrate little Jolt going on his adventure, but it's me.
It would suit the storybook format, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
It really would. Yeah.
I'd like a narrator like that for my own life. That'd be great.
I'd like the Baldur's Gate 3 narrator. For
Oh,
my life.
yeah.
Oh my god, that would be amazing.
And now Amy's taking
Amy's
out the bins.
left her tea bag in the tea again, and then attempted to drink it and wondered why she's nearly choked on
The
it.
bin bag ripped,
Yeah.
and you smell the foul stench roaming the
Dark
air.
urge. Just jump in there and have a swim. Good Lord.
Yeah,
Oh
that'd
my
be
God.
awesome. Yeah.
Well, Alex, going back around the circle, you are next with your second pick.
Oh, yes. Now, this only had a very sort of quick teaser, but there's already a great PlayStation blog page up all about it.
Oh.
This is the Dark Pictures Anthology Directive 8020. This looks amazing. Supermassive Games are back with what I believe is supposed to be like the first episode in season 2 of the next sort of series of spooky episodes.
I can't believe season 2's like.
I know.
It's happening.
Have you played them all yet?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still missing Little Hope. It's the only one I haven't done.
Oh, that was a good one.
Nice.
But what really caught my eye about this at first was how we see a character running through a spaceship, and we're like, straight away, it's like, this feels a bit like Alien, a bit like almost like it's a little bit, like there isn't much space to maneuver, and it's a little bit like claustrophobic.
Yes.
And I immediately thought of Alien, and then there's this weird, like, the creature turns into, she almost like mimics. It feels like it mimics the human character we can see, and I'm thinking, so is this like The Thing?
Or a bit like Prey as well. That was
Or a bit
kind of
like
the
Prey,
vibes I got.
Yeah, you were saying Prey when we were watching the trailer.
I thought it was something for Prey, because the creature sort of, it does mimic in that it kind of, it's a Doppler. It literally transforms into the main protagonist.
But just imagine that in like with all the really clever, supermassive narrative magic they do around all these sorts of horror tropes.
Oh my God, the distrust. Not knowing who's actually who.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It'll be the Thing all over again. If the Thing taught me anything, this is going to go terribly wrong.
Just get a flamethrower and kill everyone.
Yeah.
But what if they're not? What if it's not the mimic?
Doesn't matter. It's over. No. That is probably how I will play it.
Stranded with Alex.
That's probably how I'll play it. Like at least at first, or probably accidentally kill the humans. But it sounds really interesting to me. So your crew sort of crash lands on this alien planet and soon discovers they're being hunted as they try to repair their ship, the Cassiopeia. And that sense of claustrophobia, of being hunted by these creatures that are smarter than you. They sort of can mimic you and replicate your behaviour. And it also sounds like they're really expanding on the survival horror aspects and making like actual proper like live gameplay sections. I think in the blog it refers to them as like on the sticks gameplay. Am I boring you?
Oh, no, I was going to sneeze.
For audio listeners, Amy just like covered her mouth, and Alex just immediately coming in with the sass. Like, I'm sorry, am I boring you?
I'm sorry, is this keeping you up? No, I needed to sneeze, and I didn't want to sneeze. What would you rather I'd done? Just sneezed on you?
Oh yeah, let it all out. Let it all out. It's enough body horror as it is. I think,
God.
but it just seems like they've really amped. They're taking everything up a notch. There's going to be all that paranoia, like social paranoia. There's going to be gameplay elements where you have to use stealth. I don't know. It just feels like everything's going up a notch to kick off this second season. It'd be really interesting just to see how Supermassive tackle sci-fi horror.
Yeah.
'Cause it feels like that's a whole area that's ripe for them to really sink their teeth
That's
into.
true. We've had a lot of sort of like slasher horror. I mean, obviously, like you've got House of Ashes. It's more kind of almost like an Indiana Jonesy Tomb, like Tomb Raider gone wrong, sort of like crypt horror.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would love to see how they handle sci-fi.
They're the perfect games to have your mates over, blast through it in like one long evening, get some pizza in, and then I just can't wait to have a night like that with some friends.
Yeah.
And then just kill them all just to be safe.
Yeah.
I think I'm really interested in this one as well, because when we all play these narrative adventure games, everyone just in what's the word, just by default wants to try and save everyone. So you're always there thinking like, the choices you make matter, and you like your first run is always the sacred run, and that's when you say, oh, I can't believe so and so died because I did this mistake, or they didn't trust them so they killed them. But I thought of this, Alex, when you just went, I'm going to go in there and just kill everyone. No one can be trusted, because now we're forced into an environment where you have to kill someone, I guess, because there's a mimic among you. So it's not a case, you can't keep everyone alive, because then everyone's probably gonna die. Like you're gonna have to figure some things out.
How do you figure out, exactly, what's your criteria for reference? Like, are there certain clues you need to look for? Is it just sort of blind faith? Yeah, it's going to be brilliant.
Can't wait for it.
Really
cerebral. What a way to start season 2.
Yeah.
Okay, Amy, speaking of the number 2.
The number 2.
And not in the toilet, but what is your next entry?
Oh my god.
Rosie, you're on one today.
Sorry.
You've had something in your coffee, my sweet.
My child brain just was like, number 2.
It's like whenever an American person says Call of Duty, and I'm like, it's quite funny that. So my next one was going to be a game which I am referring to the genre of. The genre of this game is sleeping with the light on. And it is, of course, Rean Animal, which is from Tarsier Studios, who worked on Little Nightmares and Little Nightmares 2. So they are so good at creating that gloomy, oppressive setting, that sort of like dark fairy tale aesthetic. And this game, they have said, is going to be darker and grittier than their previous titles. Blimey. And when you watch the trailer, my God, it is, oh my God, it really looks like something. So there's 2 orphan children on this island, which was once their home, that has now been transformed into a nightmarish hellscape. And they're looking for their 3 other friends, and they have to navigate these like contorted, grotesque monsters. There's one that looks like a goat, that has like a long goat sheep neck.
Is that just not Goat Simulator?
Well, it looked a bit like goat. But imagine if you sort of if the Ouroboros in Resi Evil got hold of the goat from Goat Simulator. That is what this thing looks like. It has limbs where it really shouldn't have limbs.
Yep.
It comes through the wall. There's also sort of long, spindly limbed creatures and monsters, sort of, almost a little bit like Little Nightmares, but like they feel like they've amped it up. Tarsier are so good at horror, and they've really created that macabre, unsettling, you really want to hide under your bed after you've watched this trailer. It made my skin crawl. I play a lot of horror games, and if I've ever told you guys this before, I actually have a slight vision impairment in my left eye, so I sometimes play covering the right and it still looks like I'm being brave, but actually I can't really see very well. So if I'm ever on a stream and it's a horror stream and I'm like this, you'll know that I'm using the old eye trick to not really see it in proper detail. I'm cheesing my own eye. But yeah, it looks, I'm not a big horror, I am a wimp, truthfully I am. I played through Alan Wake 2 by myself and I was so happy with that, but I think this is one for a games night with friends. I think you, because it's co-op as well. So it just looks really, go watch the trailer if you haven't seen it. Rean Animal as well, the word Rean Animal makes me think reanimate. Is it something to do with like, is it a Frankenstein vibe?
Something unsettling about even the word, really.
Are these things being resurrected from the dead and they're not quite right and they've almost been put back together in a really gross corpse way? There's something very Frankenstein body horror about it. It looks amazing.
The thing that really jumped out at me quite literally at one point. It was the sort of the way that the game very cleverly looks like it's going to use 2D sections and 3D sections. There's like creatures coming out from the background, appearing in the foreground, and you're not quite sure if there's a section where you are going to be in that more 3D space or 2D space, and the game is presumably going to switch that up and keep the players on their toes at all times.
There's one little bit where you're running down an alleyway and there's like a guy on a tricycle. He's very Jigsaw.
It reminded me of that.
He sort of comes towards you really, really fast, and then there's also a bit when you're in the water and there's like big flesh bags kind of floating in the water with you. It looks horrific.
Yeah,
I mean that as a compliment to Tarsia. They've done an amazing job with it.
Like you talking about the tricycle friend just made me think I'm excited for those like chase encounters when you literally escape by the skin of your teeth.
Yes.
Like I can imagine as soon as you're just like they're coming for you super quick, and it's just like, oh yeah, they're going to be charging at you, and if you make a single mistake, that's it. But if not, then you're like,
you can't put a frame out of place. You really can't, otherwise you are grabbed, and it looks brilliant. So there's no release date on it yet, but it is coming soon. So hopefully we'll know more about it very soon.
Very soon. Well, speaking of very soon, look at me doing all of these. What do you call it?
Segues.
Yeah. Look at me doing these.
Can you do a segue action when you do it?
Yeah. I'll just charge into the microphone. But coming out on the 11th of October is my next game I'm going to talk about, which is Metaphor ReFantazio.
Beautifully spoken. I can never say that right. I always get it wrong somehow.
This is when I've said it completely wrong. But this game is Atlas's upcoming game.
Yep.
It's got loads of geniuses behind it, from people who have been making Persona 3, 4 and 5, as well as I think I saw on the trailer because there's like mechanical sort of robots and stuff in it, and the designer for the mechanics is the same genius behind Evangelion. Yeah, I watched that series and the mechanics in it are sublime, and even looking at the trailers, I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh my god, look at what they've done with this. But it just looks like a huge, fantastic, polished, brilliant game. I mean, we already know from the Persona series, even if you go in the pause menu, it's stylized, it's beautiful, all flows really well. And now, rather than like, let's say the funky and hip sort of vibe that Persona's got, we're going for a more classic fantasy adventure. So things are a bit more, rather than, I guess, pop art, it's more kind of like an oil painting kind of style with the pause menus and stuff like that. And it seems to have like a huge story. Like the story has the classic fantasy tale of there's a prince and he's been cursed, and the evil person over here, they're the one who caused it, so try and kill them, and then the prince will hopefully become the king and stuff. But there's the prince is currently out of action because he's been cursed.
Right.
So your character then is doing their best to help the prince.
Right.
And so that's when they're going to put themselves forward for like pretty much an election. I think it's going to be to become the king themselves. Or the election just to sort of like help. I can't really fully remember what it is, but either way, the whole thing is going to be about you putting yourself forward to try and help the prince return and, get rid of the evil person who's trying to become king, and clearly, because they're the one who've cursed the prince.
Yeah.
But the combat just looks so much fun. You've got the sort of Persona elements where you can transform into some kind of beast of some kind. Not beast, but a cool thing that has its own abilities. Yes. The characters already look like I'm going to bond with them and they're going to become my best friend.
That's the strong bit about Persona, isn't it? It's the character work a lot of the time. Yeah.
The music sounds phenomenal. Like from what we've heard in the trailers, the music just fully seems to be going for like the classical route. The worlds, when you're traversing them, they seem to be like big explorative areas, filled with life, people chattering around on the side and stuff. So I'm very excited just to essentially, I just know I'm going to be engulfed completely in this world.
Yeah.
And with the whole quest system as well, you can have, so there's a big element of Persona where you have a certain amount of time to do some things. Whereas in this game, it seems like you can also have timed elements for specific quests as well. Right. So it's going to be a lot of not only being engulfed in this world completely, but also strategizing what you're going to be doing on certain days, whether you're going to spend a day grinding or maybe getting a bond tighter with another character. There just seems that there's going to be so many elements to consider, and just going on this big epic fantasy quest. I'm just so excited to be wrapped in a blanket, go in this fantasy world, and also then planning what I'm actually doing with my days as well, because I also feel like that kind of makes me bond with the characters more, because it's like, you know, if you've got your own personal diary and you're like, I'm going to meet up with this friend today, go out for lunch with them,
It's like
but
a
also
second life, isn't it? Persona?
but then I've got to do my homework and like, you know, all that
Back to
stuff.
school again.
Exactly. So metaphor. I'm definitely going to be. I'm very excited for it.
Kill a dragon and then go out for lunch.
Exactly.
That's normal.
Standard Tuesday.
And also, this year has been phenomenal with just RPGs in general.
Yeah.
Like, even thinking about the beginning of the year, we had Infinite Wealth, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, we had Persona 3 Reload. We have just been smashing it with RPGs.
Yeah.
And, you know, what we're just going to be sealing the year off as well with this other huge one from Atlas. So
There's not enough hours in the year.
Exactly.
Sort of hours in life, generally. I'm at this point thinking of cloning myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll let you know how it goes.
Just get a minute.
Yeah, I need some sort of like Doppler, supermassive. Hook me
Exactly.
up.
Well, don't get them near Alex, because he'll just slaughter everyone if
No
at
cheating.
the chance.
No cheating when it comes to games and trophies, please. Only I'm
Exactly.
allowed to do that.
But Alex, what is your third entry for what you're most anticipated for?
Yeah, so this one is a lot more imminent. The other two I mentioned were both 2025 releases. This one is going to be coming out in the next week when this podcast goes out, and this is Star Wars Outlaws,
Oh, of course.
the first open-world Star Wars game, which feels pretty mad on its own. This is the first time we're going to have an open-world Star Wars game. It's got 5 planets have been announced so far, including some new ones, some classic ones. I think Tatooine's going to be in there.
Course
So that's
it
going
is.
to be
Of course
great.
it
That's
is.
going to be
Well,
great.
You play as a scoundrel,
You
and
do.
Tatooine is like the home of scumbag villainy,
That's
isn't it?
right.
Really?
Well, this is what's so interesting about the game is we've had Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor, both great games. Cal Kestis is a great character. They're incredible adventures. But there's something about seeing the other side of the galaxy a little bit and the seedy underbelly
The dirty
of these,
side of the
these
galaxy.
planets. And seeing what it's like to not have a lightsaber and force powers, and how you might have to scrap and scrape your way through these tricky encounters with hostiles or whatever it might be, whatever adventures you go on. It just looks to me like it's going to be a fun adventure. It looks to be like super Star Wars. There's so many there's like Nyx is really cute.
Nyx is
Yeah.
adorable.
Adorable.
I would.
I love those Nyx.
I'm that meme that I've only had Nyx for like 2. You know,
Yeah.
I can't even think what it's from. I've only had Nyx.
It's Brooklyn Nine-Nine, isn't
Brooklyn
it?
Nine-Nine
Yeah,
isn't it? Where she's like, I've only had Nyx for literally 2 minutes, and if anything happened to him, I would kill everyone in this room and then myself. He's adorable. He's like an axolotl, but he's kind of furry.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a prime way of describing
I
it.
did write down what they're called. They're called.
It begins with M, doesn't it? Because I had to look for it for
they're
something
called
the other day.
Mercals,
That's
and
it.
I've not seen them
Yeah.
before. I'm a bit of a I'm a Star Wars fan. I'm pretty big Star Wars fan.
Dave
but
will
I'm not-
probably know. He's
not
the biggest Star
Oh
Wars
yeah,
fan
Dave.
in the
Oh,
office,
what do you
so.
mean? There's this one and this one, mate. They're in the background of episode 2. Like,
He pauses it. He's like, zoom and enhance, zoom and enhance. There, see?
What's that
see?
thing?
It's not a leaf.
it's just a cat, Dave, that's snuck onto set. It doesn't matter. But no, it just looks like that you're going to have so many different ways of like dealing with like tricky encounters that you wouldn't expect from like a Star Wars game. This is a lot more like Han Solo. You've got your blaster, you've got gadgets, you've got stealth, you've got all these different ways, a slightly different way of approaching these things, and you're going to have to think a bit differently and outwit enemies if you're going to sort of get through some of those encounters. I just really like the idea of interacting with these different crime syndicates. I think there's 4 major crime syndicates that you're going to interact with across these different planets.
Yep.
All have their own agendas and priorities and things they'd want you to do. I'm just really looking forward to personally betraying the Hutts, because Jabba the Hutt.
I was going to say, you're going to betray the Hutts, right?
I really want to annoy Jabba, just to see him go. Blah, 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 blah. I just want to annoy him.
His flaps just rippling with disgust.
But I think there's also going to be like really cool ways. It's being set between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi as well. It's a really cool setting.
It's a good era.
Yeah, really cool. The Empire at the height of their powers, and these crime syndicates having to think about ways to navigate get around that chokehold that the Empire have on certain parts of the galaxy. And I just think it's going to be so much fun. And then having to pick which syndicates you're going to sort of try to keep on side, which ones you're not so keen. It looks like there's going to be loads of cool ways narratively to sort of navigate through the game, and I'm just really looking forward to not just exploring these cool planets, but also getting my hands dirty, with these other scoundrels. Yeah,
I love it. I just like the idea of the grey area. I think we've had a lot of games, I think I've said this before, where we've played as the Jedi or we've played as the Sith, and I think I like almost you don't really get experience of looking through the eyes of every rando on the planet. And you do more with K-Vess because you're kind of like, oh, she is the every person who's out there struggling for themselves while these massive forces vie for power. She sees more authentically the life of a civilian and obviously, you know, all the struggles that they face. And I'm really keen. I think, I want her and Nyx kind of to have those really cute adventures together.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
Every day we're smuggling. It's going to be good. It's going to be really good.
Yeah. I have to establish as well, because Alex, you said you're a fan of Star Wars. And I think that's just opened the can of worms now.
No.
Where would you put yourself on a scale of like a Star Wars fan? Just because here on Access we've got lots of people who are very passionate about Star Wars, and you've now just said it, so I think we need to establish.
Don't we have a group called Star Wars Dads? Tired Star Wars Dads. Yeah, it's a Slack group.
Are you a part of that, Alex?
I am, yes.
Okay, so he's in the group.
I'm in the group.
Tired Star Wars Dads.
You know, there's a few people vying for top spot as the biggest Star Wars fan in the office. I think I've got to be honest, and I'm probably a notch or two below Dave and Dan and their ongoing sort of war. I don't really get it, Star Wars, but you know, I'm big into them. I've really, a lot of my love has come through the games. To be honest, don't get me wrong, like the prequel trilogy is what really got me into Star Wars when I was like 10 when the first one came out, episode 1. But yeah, I'm just super excited for this new chapter, and I just can't wait to see a different side of the galaxy through the lens of Star Wars Outlaws. Yeah, in
a galaxy far, far away on the different side of the galaxy.
Exactly.
Which you haven't seen yet.
There's going to be one very angry Jabba the Hutt. Very angry Jabba. That's the most important thing.
Jabba the Hutt. That's how the text will start at the beginning. Just Jabba the Hutt is very angry.
I'm on board.
But Amy, your final pick for now for your most anticipated game.
So mine is also quite a recent one. It's coming September 26th. I am absolutely buzzing for it, and it's called Shadows of Doubt, and it is a first-person stealth detective game that's set in like a sci-fi noir city. So think kind of a little bit of LA noir in terms of like mechanics to some degree. Obviously it wasn't first person, but sort of your detective kind of like you've got your cork board of all of your red string and all your suspects and all your kind of cases and clues, coupled with the kind of aesthetic of something like cyberpunk. Neon drenched alleyways soaked with rain. Oh, like, you know,
it's a cool
someone
combo, that. It's a cool
sat
combo.
under an umbrella, you know, sort of in his trench coat, smoking a cigarette, like slinking away and disappearing into the rain. That stuff, just get it in me. I love it so much. I'm a huge crime person to admit on a podcast. I love murder mysteries, you know. I'm huge into like the Agatha Christie sort of like series of books and films, and I loved LA Noire, and I really enjoy a good detective story. I've played all the Sherlock Holmes games. That kind of thing, I think, for me, and the Poirot game actually as well. I loved the Poirot game. I think I'm the only person I know to have played the Poirot game, but I loved it.
There's a Poirot game?
There's two Poirot games.
When are we getting a Columbo game? That's what I want.
Oh, we need a Columbo game.
Please.
Miss Marple too. Like, I love a good detective story, you know? I love Knives Out as well and those movies. Like, this is what I think is great about, you know, it's a puzzler, but it's something that gives you lots of dark twists and turns to unravel. And yeah, I've already seen just the aesthetic looks great. The stealth element, I'm keen to know how that's going to play out, because you're kind of trying to catch a serial killer, but you've got to do it in a way that doesn't alert the city to your presence, and doesn't kind of like attract too much attention. So yeah, it's my private eye fantasy basically of slinking about in a trench coat in the rain, looking for clues, standing in front of my big corkboard with my coffee. That's very much what I really enjoy, and I think if there's a murder mystery fans out there, I think this looks really, really cool. So Shadows of Doubt is one to watch, and I know Dave's really interested in it as well. So, you know, might be one for a stream, who knows, but it looks really cool. And I think the sci-fi sort of, cyberpunk-esque city is something that's added a bit of a twist to it as well.
It's such a cool combo, isn't it?
Yeah, love it. Absolutely
These cyberpunk cities that have all this, like, again, another sort of dark underbelly, but there's lots of sort of underhand things going on. And you're having to venture in there and try to sort of suss who's the guilty party and what's really going on. That's just really, really cool.
I'm wondering how stealth you need to be, because I have started, I think, approximately every single one of my stealth missions in any video game stealthy, and then ended up just killing everyone involved because I think that's what we do in games. So I don't know how stealthy you need to be, but when you pull off sort of slinking around and you actually, you know, it feels so good. There's something almost better to me as like getting in and out of a building, getting stuff you need without anyone detecting you than there is going in all guns blazing.
Yeah.
I'm just really bad at it sometimes.
You feel
I
like
try to do it in the
every
office.
time I do. Yeah.
It just doesn't work. There's too many people.
Too many
That's 'cause
I
you're
need to
always
put this one European
crackling-
extreme difficulty. You've got to drop
You
it
should
down a
stop
few notches.
crackling your biscuits if you don't want to be
I just
detected.
love those damn biscuits.
You are right though. Like when you get like the stealth real feeling for it, you become you're not just a detective. You are the detective.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
there's a big difference. And then, but also when you just go in there, you know, killing everyone and but getting spotted, you're like, I'm the action detective. Like suddenly you're just like, "Whee!"
I don't play by the rules. I'm a bit of a maverick.
Am I the
Treads
murderer
over-
now?
Am I doing a crime against myself?
The spoiler is that the serial killer is you.
All
You just don't
along.
know it yet.
What a twist.
Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, Shadows of Doubt coming in September. So
Exciting.
let's go.
Well, for my final game, I'm not going to talk about Sonic X Shadow because I've talked about that many times, but that is still coming out and I'm still very excited about it. But I'm going to talk about a game which I'm super excited for, and I haven't really had a chance to express my excitement for it. But it's coming out on November the 11th, and it's Dragon Quest III 2D HD remake, which I am incredibly excited for because I think a couple of Christmases ago I finally dedicated to Dragon Quest XI. I've always wanted to play Dragon Quest.
Same,
After I
yeah.
tried out Dragon Quest Builders 2, we did it on the channel, and I just fell in love with it. So that's when on that Christmas I was like, right, I'm going to commit to this. I knew it was going to be a huge RPG, but my God, I put like, I think 100, maybe even 180 hours into it. It was definitely over 100, and I loved every blooming moment of it. But Dragon Quest XI, I don't know if this is really kind of spoilery or anything like that, but it's its own adventure, but it does reference the Erdrick trilogy, especially Dragon Quest III. So the Erdrick trilogy is like for chronological order, you've got Dragon Quest starts with 3 and then 1 and then 2. As I'm counting on my fingers, I started with like 3 fingers and then it just became 4. I just did a weird thing with my hands. But either way, so this Dragon Quest III is at the moment the start of the Dragon Quest adventure.
Right.
And it's I've heard so many stories from so many people saying that it's a fantastic game, it's a fantastic adventure. And even when I was playing Dragon Quest XI, like seeing the little glimpses and story references and you know, learning a little bit about the characters from 3 in 11, I was like, my God, I really want to play it.
Yeah, I want more of it.
I want more of it. So when this was announced, I was incredibly happy because I was like, oh my gosh, I think it was announced just before, at the time I was playing Dragon Quest XI. So I was like, oh my God, this is fantastic. I've got this to look forward to now as well. But also it just looks visually stunning. It's sort of taken the same approach as Octopath Traveler.
Okay. I was going to say, it's still quite cartoony.
So it's, at the moment, it's more like the pixelated Octopath.
Octopath Traveler. Yeah, of
pretty
course.
much like that. Where
nice.
you've got, it's a 2D environment, but you still have 3D elements within, and like 3D worlds you can explore, and even the combat as well. It's got kind of a bit more like classic Dragon Quest, but you can see your heroes at the bottom, for example, and you've got your commands menu to the left, like also like Final Fantasy VII and lots of other loads of Final Fantasies.
I mean, my RPG senses are tingling.
Yeah, literally.
Can you
it's
feel
just,
them? Over here?
I can feel it.
He's feeling them. It's just like all your classic RPG elements, but everything just looks visually so beautiful in it as well. And I just know that I'm going to go into this game and I'm just going to be taken into the world of Dragon Quest 3 and I might cry. I don't know what's going to happen, but I cried in Dragon Quest 11. Probably going to cry in this one as well. And I'm excited for it because I get so attached to these characters. They're going to become my best mates. And also, not only that, but for the excitement, when they announced Dragon Quest 3, they then did a brilliant thing in the trailer where you had like the characters' art, and then it was like, but they're moving a bit to the left. What's this to the right? And they have announced that in 2025 they're doing a Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD,
interesting.
HD 2D
This
HD
is
remake
really
as well.
good news for people who do want an entry point into the series, it seems. Because I'd never played Dragon Quest because I played Final Fantasy, and it almost felt like when I was growing up with the RPGs, you were kind of, I mean, you can obviously be both, but just in the sort of interest of time, you were one or the other, really. So, okay, cool.
Yeah, well, I completely see what you mean, because I always have this rule when I'm playing like an RPG. It tend to be like I'll do a Final Fantasy game and then a different series and then back to Final Fantasy and then a different one. So when you're saying about the whole battle of which one it is you're going to do, so that's when I think I just... So I won't lie, when we did Dragon Quest 11, my boyfriend and mine's rule was, okay, whoever finishes Final Fantasy 6 or Persona 5, they'll be the one to play Dragon Quest 11.
Yeah.
But both of us just came to Christmas and we were like, we just really want to play it. So we just booted it up anyway. So our rule went completely out the window.
Yeah.
But now ever since I did Dragon Quest 11, I've been playing Dragon Quest 8 since then. And it feels like I've been playing it for ages, but that's because I've had a real difficulty spike. So I've had to do the grind.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
The massive grind. So I am super excited for 3. I'm still trying to beat 8 before 3 comes out, because when 3 when it arrives, I want to be there.
Time's ticking, Rosie.
I know, I've got so little time, but also in a good way, because it means the game's going to come out sooner.
Yeah.
So,
well, I played Dragon Quest 11 and absolutely loved it. Got the platinum, obviously.
Yeah.
And for me, I was like, oh, I want more of this. This is a great... I've had such a good time with it.
Yeah.
But then I was like, damn. Well, where do I begin now?
Exactly.
But this feels like a really good time with all these remakes happening, remasters.
Exactly. And they're calling it, I believe they are calling it the Erdrick trilogy when 1 and 2 come out next year as well. So yeah, chronologically, start at the very beginning with a stunning 2D HD remake and things like that.
Yeah.
Meet the characters, bond with the characters, have a lovely time. I just can't wait.
We're so spoiled with RPGs, honestly.
They're
so good, but they're so meaty.
They're so meaty.
so chunky. I want to play Sea of Stars. I want to play like Chrono Cross, because that was redone recently. Just so little time.
Oh, so little
time.
But we will get through them all, even if it means it's not immediate release. You know, it might be that I play Dragon Quest over Christmas.
Yeah.
Honestly, if arthritis gets me, I'm screwed. I'm going to be playing RPGs well into my 70s if the maths checks out.
Yeah,
so
if the maths
just
checks
hope
out.
that the fingers, work.
Your fingers. Sorry, I had to make
Take
a
me
little Elden Ring
legs.
joke.
Leave my fingers.
So those are our 9 big mentions.
Most anticipated.
Most
for us.
anticipated. But I think, we've got some time for some honourable mentions. So I'm going to just jump in immediately and say Sonic X Shadow.
Who knew? Who knew? You've never mentioned it before.
I don't know why
Literally
I'm so
never
excited.
left your lips.
I've spoken about it I think on 3 podcast episodes, but I'm just excited. I'm excited for Shadow. I've been playing a bit of Sonic Adventure 2 just to build up for it again.
You played some that last night, weren't you?
Yeah, I did. I messaged you and I was just before bed I'm going to play a bit of Sonic Adventure 2.
We're not going to see you. Our friendship's going to be over as soon as Sonic X Shadow Generations comes out.
Sonic and Shadow are my friends now.
Yeah.
They are my friends. They are all I need in life. They've been there since I was a child. But no, I'm just super excited for it. I just can't wait to see, Shadow's revenge arc and his edgy ways kind of being told in a Sonic Generations style. So that is a big honourable mention from me. And also as well, just Astrobot. But I'm just saying 2 now because I was like, I'm just taking the stage. But no, getting greedy. But Astrobot's coming out super soon.
Oh, just thinking about all the fun we're gonna have.
All the collectibles. You're thinking about the trophies.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah, I know how your brain works.
I haven't, obviously, we haven't seen or touched the game or anything like that, but I am just, I already want to get the platinum for it.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you spoken to Cookie Monster recently? Your mate?
Whee!
Your mucker? See if he's free.
It was a one-time deal. Everyone needs to calm down.
Did you do the time trial, epic runs? When we were all saying, who's going to get the quickest time?
Oh, you mean on Astro?
Yeah.
I've had a go at some of them, but there was a competition on the Discord for a little while, and it became very, very difficult. The standard was very high on our the unofficial the
yeah,
fans
there's
Discord.
Some community members who have. I think Whitby's one of the top in the world or
Just
something.
stop, Whitby. Stop. That's enough. Save some success for the rest of us. But yeah, I would really, really like to get better at the time trials and Astro's playroom. But Astrobot's coming now, so I'm going to be playing that instead. And if I could have an honourable mention,
of course,
very quickly.
I just get too excited talking about video games.
We've got Dragon Age: The Veilguard coming out in a couple of months' time,
Yes.
which I'm
Yes,
super
sounds really
intrigued
good.
to be able to dive back into the world of Dragon Age. And it sounds like the companions this time around are going to be even more interesting and complex, and your relationships with them are going to be even more complicated. I'm just super interested in meeting these party members and having these weird, complicated relationships. Some of them will like the things you do, some of them weren't, and trying to navigate those relationships with such an interesting group of characters. I think will be really, really interesting. There's no way that it's just going to be incredible. I'm really excited. I've seen footage of like people using spells and stuff. It just the game looks like it's taking everything up a notch, and it's just going to be an incredible action RPG adventure with a great, incredible cast of characters. It's another one that I think is going to just be an incredible adventure. Yeah, really, really looking forward to that. And as Rosie snuck 2 in, I'm going to sneak a second one in.
Sneak another one in. It's only fair.
Honourable mentions.
Very quickly, Borderlands 4 was obviously teased.
Yeah, that was shown at Gamescom. Yeah, but they opened with that strong intro.
Super excited for that. Love the Borderlands games. I love how in each of the 3 games so far, the 4 starting professions have all been different in each game. I just can't wait to see how they mix it up with this 4th one. I don't think there's any way it's going to be like disappointing. It's going to be off the charts. They're always taking it up a level. I can't wait to just see how they mix it up this time round for sure.
You made a great point talking about how the Psycho Mask in that trailer actually like lands basically like, is it come out of a comet or something?
Something like that.
I almost thought it was a prequel at first. I'm not sure. I mean, again, we'll see. We'll see when they reveal more information on it. But yeah, Alex is right. Borderlands is a formula that don't fix it if it ain't broken. It's a great looter shooter. It's brilliant co-op. It's good fun for all. I've loved playing with mates. So
I think I've only played Borderlands 2 for a bit, but I played it with mates who were very experienced with Borderlands 2. So I came in with just like, hello, what are we doing? But I still had a fantastic time just going in there, roaming around with my mates. Sometimes I got in a car and drove off just for the lols. And then I got lost and realised I don't know what I'm doing.
Did you do the Homer Simpson thing where every time they get to the edge of your car, you drive away again and you just keep teasing them?
I didn't, but I should have done that. Oh, next time. I do
that with all my mates in games.
Maybe in Borderlands 4.
Yeah, there you go. Well, don't get in a car with Rosie in Borderlands 4.
Just because I'll edge forward like the ice cream van. Amy, what about you? Any honourable mentions? You can have 2.
I can have 2. Oh, thank you very much.
I know, because I was greedy. Sorry.
No, not at all. From Gamescom, I did love the look of Dune Awakening.
Oh, yeah.
Dune or Dune. I'm going to get called out in the comments, no matter how we say it, you know. But British, we love to say Tuesday and stuff like that. So they'll be like June. Dune. I love the films, and I think what really attracts me to Dune Awakening is the idea that you're not the Lisan al-Gaib, you're not Paul Atreides. You are literally a nobody. You are a prisoner, and you're dropped in the heart of Arrakis, and it's this huge desert wasteland, and you just have to survive. And you do that by making alliances. You do that by sort of like betraying necessarily people as well, as and when. You can build allegiances with the main houses. So I know you haven't seen the Dune films, but it's a little bit almost like sci-fi Game of Thrones in many ways.
Right. You've
got the Harkonnens, you've got the House Atreides. The different houses are sort of battling already really for sort of spice control. So spice is this substance that, is worth a hell of a lot in the world of Dune. So people are always vying for power, whether it's the means to control spice or whether it's sort of like to dominate certain planets. And the factions, that's ripe, I think, for a really good open world MMO where you decide your fate by who you side with. I can't wait to sort of play it with friends and see what pathways they take differently to me, who they decide to kind of like pledge allegiance to, and also the sandworms. Which just look
and the big sandworms.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
You need to be able to call a thumper the same way that you can sort of do like a nuke in some games. Like you need to be, because the thumpers are these like devices that basically just thud the floor.
Okay.
It's the rhythm that
it's
they
the
like,
rhythm
isn't it?
that the sandworms like, which is why.
Oh, is it like the rhythm of like your feet running or something like that?
They can hear when you walk, so you have to do a certain type of. I could get up now and demonstrate it, but I won't. But you sort of have to walk in a strange way and move your feet in different patterns.
You have to slide your feet.
Yeah,
like Shadow the Hedgehog.
Hop, slide, do a weird thing with the front of like sort of carve out a sort of semicircle. It's really beautiful.
Oh, wow.
It's very graceful when they do it. But it's designed to keep the sandworms off your back. But if you use a thumper, it directly calls one because it's rhythmic. And I'd love to see if you can do that to people.
I really liked. It's only a tiny detail that they revealed. The idea that you can create a building and then you can sort of save the blueprint of that, and you can then sell that blueprint to other players.
Yes,
so it's like other people are like, I really like the way they've laid that out, but I can't be bothered figuring it out myself. I'll just buy a blueprint. You're creative.
Yeah.
It's quite rewarding. It's a good way to reward those players that create really nice bases. There's still a source of income for them if they can create amazing looking buildings and bases. It's like, let's just keep these guys ticking over, keep the resources coming in, and keep building.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it looks really cool. So I'm very interested in Dune. And then also, this is one that we saw at Gamescom, but it's one that we've had on our radars for ages. I am just really psyched for Death Stranding 2.
Yeah.
If we're talking just general, not necessarily tied to Gamescom, but kind of stuff we're anticipating in general, I am so excited for Death Stranding 2. So I just think, like, Death Stranding 2 looks all kinds of strange in the best way. It's brilliant. It's so, there's nothing like it.
Yeah.
And I think what really gets me is, you know, where is Sam? I don't know if you guys have played the full story. I'm trying to tread around spoilers a little bit.
I haven't, but I know, I accept that it's been a while since What's
happening to Sam Porter Bridges now, you know, where the characters that you, very typically, you know, in Kojima fashion, you build up great relationships with all the characters in the game, and they're all brilliant, and they deliver great performances as well. And I think, you're sort of, Death Stranding doesn't really end necessarily on a cliffhanger as such. It does a little bit, but it's more, I want to know what's next for them all. What weird ways will Kojima predict the future, which he's so good at doing. The guitar scene that we've seen in the trailer, where he's playing BB's theme on a guitar and just kind of like, there's a brilliant fight scene.
Slides around all over the place.
Troy Baker just, getting his weird on. I really, really loved Death Stranding. I thought it was a bizarre experience that I still don't know what to make of it. And I think that is partly its strength, is that you come away from it.
You don't know what you're going to get, do you? Really?
I don't really know what I just played, but I've never played anything like it before. Death Stranding 2 is on my radar for sure.
Definitely.
Cool.
And also, I just thought as well, when you were talking about that, I thought, oh yes, and Silent Hill 2, and also Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater Delta.
You're wearing the shirt.
I'm wearing the shirt right now. Like, those are also two honourable mentions. But I'm just going to keep on listing games and stuff, so I better start wrapping up now before I just get far too excited.
We'll just get overly hyped.
Yeah, we can be here for another hour, right?
Yeah, I've got nowhere to be. Yeah.
But thank you both so much for telling us your most anticipated games, as well as your honourable mentions as well, because I know that it's hard to pick when there's so many epic video games coming out.
Just a bit.
Yeah. So it's hard to pick. But we've only given you 9 of our most anticipated games, as well as some honourable mentions, because we're cheeky like that. But if you guys have any you would like to add, or just want to speak excitedly as well about games coming out, then please hop onto the YouTube channel, the PlayStation Access YouTube channel, and let us know in the comments of this video, because we have a video format of these podcasts as well. And speaking of the PlayStation Access YouTube channel, if you haven't already checked it out, please do, because we have so much awesome content on there, and we're going to have even more content on all of these games coming out and stuff. So we're going to keep you up to date with all of that goodness. And just thank you very much for listening or watching, whichever's your preference. And on that note, I think it's time to say goodbye.
But definitely drop in the comments, because we like talking excitedly about video games.
Yeah, we just love video games.
If that is your vibe, welcome.
Welcome.
Join us.
But we will see you in the next podcast episode, and you will hear us. We can't see you. I can only see a camera and a microphone in front of me. But either way, we will see you in the next podcast episode. Bye.
Bye.
PlayStation